This is Rosen Institute's Your Law Firm, where Ned Days and Lee Rosen cover management, marketing, finance, and new technologies for building the practice you deserve. Rosen Institute members received this episode early, as well as exclusive segments on getting next year's vacations scheduled ahead of time, and an answer to a member question about making fixed fees more attractive to potential clients. Get access to everything you're missing at roseninstitute.com/join. Here's Lee Rosen.
It's good to be with you today from Kanazawa, Japan. We had not planned to visit this city, but some friends were going to meet us and wanted to visit a city smaller than Tokyo so that they could experience Japanese culture without the pressure of the big crowds. And we did a little research and discovered that Kanazawa is getting lots of tourists now, but not too many. It has just recently become one of the stops on one of the high-speed train lines. Unfortunately, the friends canceled their trip, but we already had a great deal on a nice hotel room, so we came anyway, and we're really glad we did. It's a very pleasant city with lots to see, plenty of history, scenery, a very pleasant, smaller city feel where the people are more willing to chat than the big city folks. Kanazawa turned out to be a great decision.
It's time for your tech tip. I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but I think custom GPTs in ChatGPT and gems in Gemini are tools that not just law firms, but basically every small business is ignoring at their own peril. At their core, these are just chatbot conversations with a custom prompt preloaded and optionally extra data and files attached that can be referenced by the chat. These may be customer records, procedure manuals, spreadsheets of any kind, research material and resources, you name it. But the ability to preload a chat with a prompt, data, instructions, and questions, then share that with your entire team, is a huge leap forward in automating all kinds of tedious tasks in your practice. Information lookups, form fills, template banks, messy input data cleanup, all these tasks that used to require somebody sitting down and looking things up or massaging the data for a few hours can be turned into tools, and tools that you can share. You are not requiring somebody on your team to figure out the right questions to ask or the right files to include when prompting. It's all right there, ready to go. And as Google and OpenAI flesh out their own workflow platforms, the ability to pass off emails or chats or text messages or attachments directly into these GPTs and gems makes them even more useful. Now, this is great if you have all the data you need in a fairly basic plain text or CSV format. You just upload those files into your GPT or gem and you are good to go. But for a lot of us, what we'd really like to do is prime these tools with information from all over the place. Often that is data from some kind of website or table on the web. It may be an online directory of some kind where we want to be able to grab names and contact details from a list and provide those to ourselves or our team members who are using our tailored prompts. Maybe you have dozens of web pages full of articles or blog posts or procedures. Maybe you want to swipe those from somewhere else. Getting all of that information into your LLM chats is a little bit messy. Regular old copy and paste doesn't always work. Either stuff is missing or the formatting is removed, and it makes structured data an unreadable mess. Sometimes it actually works better to take a screenshot of something and feed that in. The formatting and the context is better preserved, but that is a giant pain and very error-prone if you need to do more than a page or two. So I want to look at a couple of ways to grab or scrape data from sites, directories, and other services on the web that you can then use as knowledge-based content for your AI workflows. The first one is firecrawl.dev. Their pitch is that they turn websites into LLM-ready data. There are quite a few services out there doing this, but I have found Firecrawl to be the most comprehensive and easiest to use. They give you 4 options for gathering data. Scrape, which outputs the contents of a single URL or page. Search, which performs a web search for a query and then gets the full contents of the resulting pages. Map, which outputs all a web page's URLs. And Crawl. This automatically attempts to follow all the links on a domain that you provide and spit out a plain text version of all the pages. Whichever method you choose, you can select one or more output formats: Markdown, a plain text summary, a list of the links, the raw HTML, or a screenshot. There are also Zapier and Make.com integrations to easily automate grabbing data from specific sites or grabbing it on a schedule. You can scrape up to 500 pages on their free plan, which honestly is going to be more than most people will need. Paid plans work on a credit system and start at about $16 a month if you need them. Now, if you really love to tinker or are a glutton for punishment or want a setup where you have complete control of your data crawling process and don't want anyone else to know, there is an open source option called Crawl for AI that you can either install locally on your machine or set up as a web service on a server you own. It is absolutely not for the faint of heart or non-techies, but it is an option worth knowing about if you have serious data crawling needs. But if grabbing an entire page or site is a little too brute force and likely to gather up a bunch of information you don't really care about, there is an interesting tool called Whisk that requires a little patience, but lets you create workflows that grab exactly the information you want on a schedule. I hope by now you weren't expecting this to just be at whisk.com, because that is some kind of Samsung-owned mobile app for your groceries. The one we are talking about is wh1sk.com, of course. You set up a drag-and-drop workflow that lets you specify URLs to visit, which elements on the page you want to extract. You can specify headlines, tables, particular HTML elements, whatever it happens to be, where to extract the data, how many records, and when to repeat. Now, because Whisk is still new and in beta, it is free to use, and honestly, it may be overkill for the kinds of projects we are talking about, at least on a long-term basis. But I do think it's worth playing around with these options as a quick and easy and repeatable way to add and update knowledge-based data in the tools that you are or should be creating for yourself and your team. I'm Ned Days, and that's your tech tip.
And now for your moment of concise advice. I once walked into a dentist's office and immediately wanted to walk back out. The carpet was stained. The air smelled faintly of something burned. The magazines were from a decade ago. I hadn't even met the dentist yet, but I already knew one thing for sure. I did not trust this dentist. My brain had made the call before my name was ever called out by the assistant. That's the power of a lobby. It seals your fate. It speaks volumes about you. You can be the best in town, but if your space screams, "I don't care," well, that's what people believe. You know, we tell ourselves that clients hire us for our skills and our experience and our results, but most of them, they decide to hire us based on a feeling. They're not judging your resume. They are judging your rug. I have seen lobbies that made me question whether I should sit down on the sofa or whether I should call the health department. I have seen others that felt like sanctuaries, calm and clean and intentional. Trust, it is built or diminished in these small spaces. Our environment, it sends such a powerful message. Design, it matters. And you know, it's not about money. A cheap space, it can feel cared for, and an expensive space, it can feel cold. Design is about empathy. It's about putting yourself in your client's shoes and asking, if I were in the client's position, if I were scared or broke or desperate or facing a legal problem that could put me at risk of losing it all, would I feel safe in this space? The funny thing is, this isn't just about your physical lobby. The idea here applies to a much broader range of things that you do with your law firm. Your whole business is a lobby. Your website is a lobby. Your receptionist's voice is a lobby. Your invoices, your emails, your follow-up calls, every one of them tells your clients, and especially your prospective clients, what to expect. Each of them is a moment that either builds trust or it breaks trust. When you send an email full of typos, that's a dirty carpet. When you make someone wait 3 days for a reply to an email, that's a broken chair. When your website hasn't been updated since Obama's first term, that's a dying plant sitting in the corner. All of these things, they are all small signals, but they add up to something big. They tell your client whether or not you are paying attention. We like to think that clients can't tell when we're distracted, when we're not paying attention. But they can. They sense when we've stopped seeing what it is that they see. We get so used to our own spaces, literal and digital, that we stop noticing the dust. We stop noticing the clutter, the small frictions, the things that quietly whisper, this place is slipping. When the place is slipping, the clients, they slip away. They spend their money where they feel noticed and valuable and important and cared for. They need to know that they can trust you. The little pieces need to fit together to align in support of their belief in you. So what do? Well, here's the fix. Walk through your law firm like a stranger. Start at the door. Sit in the waiting area. Open your website on your phone. Send yourself an email and then read it like a nervous client would. You'll notice things that you have been blind to for years, things that might be driving business away one uneasy stomach at a time. And don't stop there. Don't stop at the decor. Your team is part of the lobby too. The receptionist's tone, the paralegal's patience, the associate's attentiveness, they're all part of the message. If a client feels dismissed or ignored or judged, no water feature fountain in the corner or fresh paint can fix that. Every member of your staff either reinforces trust or they erode it. The warmth in their voice matters more than the art on your walls. You know, empathy, it isn't complicated. It's just seeing the world from the other side of the desk. When you do, you'll stop tolerating things that make clients question you. You'll start making decisions that make them trust you, not because you said the right words, but because you showed them what kind of business you run. And here's the hidden benefit. Empathy doesn't just build trust, it builds profit. Clients who feel confident, they pay faster, they argue with you less, they refer more to you. A well-run lobby in every sense of the word, it isn't just good manners, it's not just good sense, it's good business. Your lobby, every lobby, it tells a story. You need to make sure that your lobby tells the right story, and that's your moment of concise advice. Wrapping up from Kanazawa, thanks for spending a few minutes with me and Ned today. We hope you have a great weekend and an even better week next week. Keep plugging away, moving forward, and getting things done. You're on the right track. You'll get there, I promise. We're all in this together, and together we build better practices through better marketing, better management, and better technology. Until next time, I'm Lee Rosen.
Thanks for listening to Your Law Firm. Subscribe to the Friday File at roseninstitute.com and join thousands of other lawyers who are working on instead of in their businesses. You'll find safe, successful, actionable approaches for transforming your practice. Join us today at roseninstitute.com.